Mary Poppins, 1964, a film that enchanted generations with its musical magic and whimsy. But behind the curtain of this beloved classic lies the untold stories of its cast. Some found fame and fortune, while others faced life-altering accidents or spiraled downward into adversity. Decades have passed, and now in 2025, we take a closer look at their remarkable journeys, where they've been, what they've endured, and how they've emerged through it all. From tragedy to triumph, the lives of these iconic stars unfold in ways as fascinating as the movie itself. Explore the twists and turns of their paths and uncover where they are now. Julie Andrews, who starred as Mary Poppins at age 29, brought to life the practically perfect nanny with charm, elegance, and a melodic voice that became timeless. Her role enchanted generations, yet her personal life was far from a fairy tale. After the film, Andrews struggled to find roles that matched her talents, and a botched throat surgery in 1997 robbed her of her singing voice, her most defining gift. She married set designer Tony Walton in 1959, and they had one daughter, Emma Walton Hamilton. Their marriage ended in 1968, torn apart by long separations and career pressures. Her second marriage to director Blake Edwards lasted until his death in 2010, but it was marked by emotional distance, Blake's chronic depression, and her own bouts with anxiety. She adopted two Vietnamese daughters, Amy and Joanna, but raising them amid her career left her riddled with guilt. Andrews suffered through the deaths of her second husband, close friends, and her own identity crisis post-voice loss. Now 89, she lives in quiet seclusion, rarely seen in public. Her estate is estimated at $30 million, though she has donated significantly to arts and literacy programs. Despite the acclaim, her heart remains haunted by what was lost behind the camera. Dick Van Dyke, who played both the light-hearted Bert and the aged Mr. Dawes Sr. at age 38, embodied mirth and wonder in Mary Poppins, his crooked Cockney accent becoming part of film folklore. But behind the whimsical grin lay decades of hidden sadness. After the film, Van Dyke battled chronic alcoholism, which destroyed his first marriage to Margie Willett. They had 4 children, Christian, Barry, Stacy, and Carrie Beth, but family life suffered as his addiction deepened and his absences grew. Following a long affair with Michelle Triola, she spiraled into depression, and her 2009 death shattered him. He later married Arlene Silver in 2012, but the age gap of 46 years led to public scrutiny and estrangement from some relatives. Though he found joy in stage revivals and voice work, Van Dyke watched many close friends die, including Mary Tyler Moore and Carl Reiner, leaving him increasingly alone. Now 99, he remains physically active but is frail, mourning the family ties frayed over years of personal demons. His estate is estimated at $50 million, a fortune built on laughter, shadowed by a long trail of silent suffering. David Tomlinson, who portrayed George Banks, the rigid banker with a hidden heart, was 47 when Mary Poppins enchanted audiences. His portrayal of a man softened by love and whimsy stood in sharp contrast to the tragedies of his own life. Tomlinson's first wife, Mary Lindsay Hitting, committed a horrific suicide in 1943, throwing herself and their 2 sons from a New York hotel window after discovering he was leaving for war. He was devastated and never fully recovered. In 1953, he married actress Audrey Freeman, and they had 4 sons, David Jr., William, Henry, and James, but he was emotionally distant, often lost in painful memories and drinking heavily in private. His career declined rapidly after the 1970s, leaving him forgotten by the industry he once brightened. Struggling with depression and recurring nightmares, Tomlinson became a recluse in his final years, plagued by dementia and barely remembering the role that defined him. He died in 2000 at age 83 from a stroke. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at $1.5 million, much of it left to his children, though he reportedly spent his last days in modest solitude, clinging to fading recollections of a life tinged with quiet sorrow. Glynis Johns, who was 41 when she played Winifred Banks, the suffragette mother torn between causes and family, brought a sweet yet uncertain presence to the film. Off-screen, her life mirrored that imbalance. Johns married 4 times, each union ending in emotional disarray. Her first marriage to Anthony Forwood gave her one son, Gareth Forwood, who died tragically of cancer in 2007. Each subsequent marriage, first to David Foster, then Cecil Henderson, and finally Elliot Arnold, fell apart due to infidelity, distance, or her own restless spirit. She was known to feel lonely even in company, often relying on sleeping pills and whiskey to lull herself into false peace. After Mary Poppins, Johns struggled with typecasting, her ethereal voice keeping her boxed into whimsical roles as her dramatic range was ignored. She grew increasingly bitter about her lost opportunities and her estranged relationship with Gareth, who battled depression most of his life. Now 101, she lives in a care facility, rarely visited, her memories blurred by age. Her estate is estimated at $4 million, much of it protected in trusts. Once a star of elegance and strength, she now fades quietly, a once vivid spark dimmed by the passing of years and heartaches unspoken. Hermione Baddeley, who portrayed Ellen, the charmingly disheveled and often forgetful maid in Mary Poppins, was 57 years old when she brought the role to life in 1964. Her performance was tinged with wit and warmth, often providing comic relief with her expressive face and quirky delivery. Though adored on screen, Baddeley's personal life was far less joyful. She was married once, to socialite David Tennant, but the union crumbled under the weight of infidelity and discontent. They had one daughter, Pauline, with whom Hermione had a strained relationship, made worse by her frequent absences due to work. Her post-Poppins career dwindled into supporting television roles, a painful fall from the critical acclaim she once enjoyed. Among her personal tragedies were the loss of her brother in World War II, a destructive fire in her London flat, years battling alcohol dependency, and profound loneliness in her later years. Financial difficulties plagued her final decade, forcing her to rely on charity appearances and residuals. She passed away on August 19, 1986, at the age of 79 due to complications from a stroke. Her estate was modest, estimated at around $400,000, a quiet end to a loud and lively presence who once lit up the screen. Retta Shaw, who portrayed the stern yet hilariously exasperated cook Mrs. Brill in Mary Poppins, was 59 when the film premiered in 1964. Her role brought sharp comedic timing and an unforgettable scowl that masked a softer, loyal heart beneath. Off-screen, Shaw's life was a patchwork of personal disappointments and private sorrow. She married actor William Forster in 1937, but the marriage ended in divorce within 5 years, a split reportedly triggered by her inability to conceive. Childless and reclusive, she threw herself into character roles on television, yet never recaptured the magic of Poppins. Her loneliness deepened with the deaths of both her parents within a year of each other. Friends noted her isolation and bouts of depression, worsened by industry ageism. A car accident in the late 70s left her in chronic pain, and she was later diagnosed with emphysema from decades of heavy smoking. She passed away on January 8, 1982, at the age of 69 from respiratory failure. Her estate was estimated at $600,000, quietly divided among distant relatives and a charitable trust supporting struggling actresses. Karen Dutch Rice, who played Jane Banks, the curious, hopeful daughter of the Banks family, was just 9 years old when Mary Poppins was released. Her natural innocence and grace made her an immediate favorite among audiences. However, her life after Disney was marked by hesitation, retreat, and a haunting sense of disconnection. Pressured by fame at a young age, she stepped away from acting entirely in her early 20s. She married English actor Alex Hyde White in 1986, and they had one son, Garrick. The marriage crumbled by the early 90s, strained by her resistance to return to the spotlight and his rising Hollywood ambitions. A second marriage to Ned now brought 2 more children, but the ghosts of her early fame lingered, Rice often expressed regret for the childhood she missed and the pressure to remain perfect. She also endured the suicide of a close friend, 2 miscarriages, and years of estrangement from her father. Although she occasionally appears at Disney fan events, she lives a quiet, reclusive life in England. Now 69 years old, her estate is estimated at around $1 million, built more on investments than showbiz. A quiet life for a girl once lifted by a nanny into the clouds. Matthew Garber, who played the impish and wide-eyed Michael Banks in Mary Poppins, was only 8 years old when the film premiered. With a natural spark and undeniable charm, his portrayal was the very embodiment of childhood wonder. But after just a few more films, Matthew disappeared from the public eye. He never returned to acting, retreating from Hollywood entirely by his teens. His family hoped this would shield him from the pressures of stardom, but instead, he became a drifter, moving between odd jobs in Europe, seeking meaning in a world that seemed to forget him. He never married, never had children, and remained emotionally distant even from childhood co-stars. In 1976, during a soul-searching trip to India, he contracted hepatitis. Delayed medical treatment, compounded by a weakened immune system and a lack of familial support, caused his rapid decline. He died of hemorrhagic pancreatitis on June 13, 1977, at the age of just 21. His mother died shortly after, shattered by grief. At the time of his death, Garber's estate was valued at approximately $50,000, largely made up of royalties and residuals from Disney. With no will and no direct heirs, what little he left behind, a suitcase of letters, worn books, and childhood photos, was quietly packed away. He is remembered now as a lost boy, suspended forever in cinematic innocence. Elsa Lanchester, who portrayed Katie Nana, the disgruntled nanny who leaves the Banks family at the beginning of Mary Poppins, was 62 years old when the film was released in 1964. Her performance, though brief, highlighted her ability to evoke tension and frustration. Lanchester's personal life was marked by both triumphs and struggles. She was married to the renowned actor Charles Laughton for many years, but their union was far from the fairy tale many imagined. Their marriage, although lasting, was often strained by Laughton's personal battles and Lanchester's own desire for independence. They did not have children, a source of sorrow for Lanchester, who later confessed to feeling a sense of unfulfillment in that regard. Despite a successful career, Lanchester's later years were marred by the loneliness she faced after Laughton's death in 1962. She struggled with depression and the isolation of being in the public eye, especially in the latter stages of her life. Elsa passed away on December 26, 1986, at the age of 84. Her estate, valued at approximately $1 million, was mostly inherited by family members and close friends who admired her for both her talent and her deeply private nature. Arthur Treacher, who portrayed Constable Jones in Mary Poppins, was 70 years old when the film premiered in 1964. His role as the polite and helpful policeman was a classic example of his long career in film, where he was often cast as the dignified but somewhat comedic authority figure. Treacher's life, however, was overshadowed by personal disappointments. Despite a successful career, he struggled with the isolation that came with his status as a foreign-born star in Hollywood. He married a woman named Margaret in the late 1920s, but their marriage faced severe difficulties, with Treacher often away for work and Margaret battling her own personal demons. They had no children, and their union eventually dissolved. His career faded in the 1950s as his typecast roles became less popular. Arthur Treacher's health deteriorated in his later years, and he passed away on December 14, 1975, at the age of 81. His estate, worth approximately $500,000, was left to various charitable causes, reflecting his desire to leave behind a legacy of kindness. Edwin, who brought warmth and humor to the role of Uncle Albert in Mary Poppins, was 78 years old when the film was released in 1964. His portrayal of the jolly, laugh-loving uncle who floats when he laughs became one of the most memorable aspects of the film. Off-screen, Wynne's life was filled with both success and sadness. He had a tumultuous marriage to his wife, Hilda Keenan, with whom he had one son, Keenan Wynne, who later became an actor himself. However, the marriage was fraught with difficulties, and their relationship ended in divorce. Wynne struggled with alcoholism for much of his life, a battle that alienated him from some of his closest friends and colleagues. Despite these challenges, Wynne was known for his generosity and for his willingness to mentor young actors. He passed away on June 19, 1966, at the age of 79. His estate, valued at approximately $2 million, was left to his family and several philanthropic organizations dedicated to the arts. Jane Darwell, who portrayed the bird woman in Mary Poppins, was 85 years old when the film was released. Her portrayal of the gentle character in the "Feed the Birds" sequence, although brief, resonated deeply with audiences for its poignant simplicity. Darwell's personal life was marked by significant tragedy. She was married to a man who, after several years of marriage, tragically passed away, leaving her to raise their 3 children alone. Despite this, Darwell's career in Hollywood flourished, but her personal life was often overshadowed by the struggles of being a single mother. She experienced great financial hardships after her husband's death, and found herself dependent on a series of unsatisfying roles in film and television. Darwell's final years were marked by the loneliness of widowhood, compounded by health issues that gradually diminished her ability to perform. She passed away on August 13, 1967, at the age of 87. Her estate, worth an estimated $300,000, was inherited by her children, who remembered her not only for her remarkable film career but also for her strength in facing personal adversity. Arthur Mallett, who portrayed Mr. Dawes Jr., the younger, stern banker in Mary Poppins, was 37 years old at the time of the film's release in 1964. His role as the young, yet pompous banker tasked with ensuring the bank's family remains in debt was memorable for his precise, stiff demeanor. Though his role in the film was brief, Mallett's portrayal stuck with audiences. In his personal life, Mallett was a complex figure. He had a marriage to actress Helen Mallett, and together they had one child, a son. However, their relationship was strained by his intense devotion to his acting career, often leaving his wife to care for their child alone. Their marriage eventually ended in divorce. Mallett struggled with bouts of depression, particularly after the end of his marriage. Though his career continued with roles in various films and television series, including The Love Boat and The Twilight Zone, he was often overshadowed by more prominent actors. Mallett's later years were marked by seclusion, and he rarely spoke publicly about his personal struggles. He passed away on May 18, 2013, at the age of 85. His estate was modest, valued at around $500,000, which was mostly inherited by his son, who had followed in his footsteps into acting. Marjorie Eaton, who played Miss Persimmon, the no-nonsense character who briefly appears in Mary Poppins, was 63 years old when the film premiered in 1964. Eaton's portrayal of the stern and unforgiving figure was a sharp contrast to the whimsical nature of the rest of the film. In her personal life, Eaton faced much hardship. She was married twice, first to actor Wallace Ford, but their marriage ended in divorce. She then married a man named Charles W. Eaton, with whom she had a son. Their relationship, though initially passionate, became difficult as Eaton faced the pressures of her acting career and Charles battled his own health problems. Despite her professional success, her personal life was marred by tragedy and loss. She struggled with the isolation of being a single mother, often relying on her work to escape the heartbreak of her marriage's disintegration. In her later years, Eaton was known for her charitable work, but she also faced health issues and often retreated from public life. She passed away on April 21, 1986, at the age of 85. Her estate was estimated to be worth $250,000, a modest sum that was left to her son, who had become a successful artist. Cyril Delavanti, who portrayed Mr. Grubbs, the elderly banker in Mary Poppins, was 77 years old when the film was released in 1964. His portrayal of the gruff and serious bank clerk who is part of the scene where Mr. Banks is fired was a perfect addition to the ensemble of quirky characters. Delavante's life, however, was anything but simple. He had a long marriage to his wife, with whom he had 2 children. Their marriage was tumultuous, as Delavante's commitment to his work often took precedence over family life, causing deep strains in the relationship. His wife passed away at a relatively young age, a blow that left him reeling and in emotional turmoil. After her death, Delavante withdrew into himself, often finding solace in his acting career but facing deep personal sadness. His later years were marked by financial difficulties, despite his long-standing career in film and television. Delavante struggled with loneliness and a sense of lost opportunities in his final years. He passed away on December 13, 1975, at the age of 88. His estate was valued at around $300,000, which was left to his surviving children, who honored his memory by preserving his legacy in film. Who is your favorite character from Mary Poppins? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.